videos later on of a creature, a bonobo named Kanzi, who's got hundreds of words, including words for emotions. We've got dogs. There's a famous collie, I think it is, who's got like 150 words for different toys. We've got Alex the parrot. You know, freaking parrots, right? He's got a couple, I think, a couple hundred word vocabulary, so it's just more for that. These are wild animals studied, and it looks like the pattern is more related to things like food and predators. Yeah, go ahead, in the back.
I hear about Project SETI's new work about sperm whale phonetics.
No, so here we go. So this is, if you guys want to look, okay, dying pen. So for those who are interested in this, what he just mentioned was sperm whale phonetics.
Yep.
So phonetics is a study of speech pattern. So I don't know anything about it, but we can look it up. Sperm whale phonetics. We will actually talk about phonemes later on in the class. And this is a really good question. If you have a link on that, send it to me. I can. If it's.
Send me the actual study.
Yeah, do it. I love it. Yes. Quick question. Yes.
No, it's just like, this reminds me of those times where like they get, like, owners give their pets a bunch of buttons of different words they say, and they're like food, food, food.
Yeah, that's just classic conditioning. That's just Skinner and Pavlov. Yes, go ahead. It's actual words. Yeah. Now, is there inflection? Inflection is a powerful meaning device. I don't know. It's a good question. There is some, I think, studying going on that. You have to look that up and tell me. Yes?
Was it verbs versus humans? Was that?
Okay, so they've got call signs. Now, here's the thing. They don't get anything out of combination. So let's just say, like, I've got snake, eagle, lion.
There's a snake, there's an eagle, there's a lion. Oh my.
Snake, eagle, lion. You can't combine them and get anything else. You can't say snake, 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 snake. You lion-ass snake in the grass. You fucked me over. There's no meaning that comes from combination. So the difference between call signs and language, humans have language. And language isn't really about vocabulary. So most languages have around 100,000 terms in their vocabulary. Most people use commonly maybe 10 to 20,000 words of vocabulary. But the thing is that we actually tend to kind of empty out our vocabulary in terms of language use. So here, let me just go through a bunch of words that are clearly a part of language, but really don't have any meaning that make any sense to you. Jesus Christ, I don't know, what the fuck? You know, it's one of those things. God dang it. Ah, shit, you know, it's one of those days. None of that. Like, I'm not talking about Jesus Christ. Fuck it. Like, none of this has any real meaning in terms of vocabulary. What language does is it uses structure. So we have all these ways of creating structure that creates meaning out of combining terms. So instead of having a meaning because the word has a meaning,
Like
the word has a meaning because we use it in a sentence.
language?
Yes, that's my point. So we have nouns, we have subjects and objects, we have actions, we have verbs, and then we have subjects do things to objects, and then we have modifiers, adverbs, and adjectives. And then we have this linking thing where you can say, I went to the store to buy some food, but they didn't have the food I liked, so I went over to the market. I got to the market, and they were out of the one I was looking for, so I decided to get something else, and I got that. Then I forgot I had toilet paper, so I had to go back to the store. And then when I finally got home, the dog had pooped all over the house, and I had to clean it up. You can just keep adding on structure, and the language just keeps going. This combinatorial and meta structure to language is unique to humans as far as we can tell. What's language good for? Well, we're going to talk a lot about this at the very end of the class. Who has it? All right, so cetaceans, octopuses, bonobos, chimpanzees, gorillas, dolphins. None of them have demonstrated complex language. All of them have demonstrated something, and we're not sure what. Here's the classic ones: Kanzi, Alex the parrot, vermin monkeys. The Turing test. So Alan Turing, again, he's the father of quote-unquote modern computers and modern computing, because he did both. He both built a computer that was a code analyzer, but he also wrote this famous theory, a paper on the theory of computing. The Turing test, which I'm sure you've all heard the argument, or all heard the phrase, is a test to see whether, if a human is talking to two individuals behind a screen through text only, and one is a computer and one's a human, can it tell the difference? If it can't tell the difference, the creature is using language and is therefore intelligent. It's been passed so many times every single day by the billions that nobody's really sure anymore whether language is something that LLMs can use or not. They clearly can manipulate symbols in a way that looks like language. Yeah?
So the Turing test is testing whether a computer can imitate you? Or?
Yes. It's called the imitation game.
Oh.
You probably heard that phrase too. Okay, next, learning. Okay. Going back to what I try to, all of my lectures have a pattern. They're all supposed to refer forward, then refer back. They refer forward, then refer back. So if you start to notice that, that's something that's good, because that way I'm keeping a narrative going that keeps your brain hopefully understanding the story. Okay, so one of the things I said was, it would be a lot better if the environment is not changing rapidly to simply have a gene for it. If there's no change, genes can do the job and they're much better. Why? No learning. Because learning is extremely problematic. Okay, so one thing to understand right away, economics and biology are the same thing. Biology is inherently economic, and economics is inherently about creatures and their needs, okay, which is a biological question. So there are benefits and there are costs. The costs are the bad thing. The benefit is the good thing, all right? So apparently if you want medical care these days, you gotta spend $1,000 a month on insurance. That's a bad thing, and many of us can't afford it. But if you don't have health insurance, when you go to the doctor, you're in trouble, right? So cost and benefit, and we're always working and grinding our way through, like, does a job pay enough? How many hours do I have to work? You know, what do I need to pay my bills? You know, what happens when I can't pay my car payment? This is all what we're doing. Okay, what are the costs of learning? First, it's very time consuming. It takes a long time to learn. Second, it's costly in resources. If the average student leaves university with a debt of like $30,000, it's quite common, because of course there's a very wide spread in the distribution, it's quite common to walk away with a 4-year degree from a decent university with a $100,000 loan, which means that many young people are not buying houses. So it used to be that you left college, got a decent career, and relatively quickly bought a house, got married, and had kids. Many Americans are reporting they would love to be able to buy a home, start a family, but they're having to delay it into their mid and late 30s because of their college loan duties. So this is a really interesting problem. It's very costly to learn. And there's also opportunity cost, right? Opportunity cost in economics is what you are losing because you are not out there getting more resources. You're sitting in a classroom going, oh my fucking God, will he ever get to the point? No. This is the point. Next. Yeah.
Would this also be considered, because I know lots of people have a tendency to learn bad habits.
Wait, can I, you beat me. You got me there ahead. I love it. I love my students who are ahead of me. Next, what if you learn the wrong thing? Now wait, here's the shitty part. Who's noticed this? You don't realize you've learned the wrong thing until after the time and the money's spent. Fuck! What the hell is that? Yeah, so exactly. Exactly. So here's the thing. Many times the learning isn't the good learning. It isn't the right learning. It doesn't do any service at all. Who's wondering that about university now? Wake up. Who's wondering about whether university is worth the cost now? Thank you. Took you a while there.
I already wondered.
So here's the thing. This is a unique element of your generation. So in my generation, we went to college knowing that we would do better if we got the degree no matter what. That isn't true anymore. In fact, the university system as a whole is collapsing. And it's collapsing under your feet. This means the first thing you should do every morning when you wake up is wonder, is this what I should be doing? Because it's falling under this. Okay, so what are the types of learning available to you? And this is going to get back now. Again, it's referring back to what we've already talked about. So first off, there's the way nearly every creature on Earth learns. It's called trial and error learning. Now, this is what you might actually call no theory learning. That is, you have no idea what you want to know and how you would know it. So you've got some basic drives. We know all animals are driven. I have a French bulldog, poor little thing, and he has to be starved. Listen, I know, you have no fucking idea. This is the sweetest little dog ever. But he has to be starved because any pressure, any weight, he builds weight here, any weight around his neck pushes on his larynx and makes his life really hard. So I starve him. This poor little thing is the world's most ridiculous vacuum cleaner. The minute he starts moving, he's sucking up everything on the ground. I could barely take him outside for the fear that he'll actually suck up the ground while he's at it. We've got all the insects and everything else that might kill him. So you've got these basic drives, right? Okay. Trial and error learning is you have no idea how you're going to fulfill that basic drive. You just got to figure it out. So you just wander around. Can you imagine what it would be like to live in a world where everything was trial and error learning? Where you never had any way of learning other than figuring it out yourself? No human has ever lived like that. Not one. Not from the very beginning. The other kind is observational learning, where, and here's the key, it's called theory-filled learning. You already know what you want to learn, you already know how you're going to learn it, and you already know where you need to get it. My favorite example, everyone should understand this. So it's somebody's birthday, they get a new video game. Did I tell you the story already? I don't think so, okay. So they get a new, see that thing where you're like, theory of mind, theory of mind. They may have heard this already. So they get a new video game, and you both know the bit. It's like a Donkey Kong kind of video game. Everyone knows how those kind of work, but you've never played this one. And it's their birthday, so they go first. You guys know the birthday rules? It's a video game. Everybody wants to play it, but they go first because it's their birthday. And of course, they crash and burn. So then what do you get to do?
Learn from their mistakes.
From their mistake, and you always make it a little further. Who said that happened? Because you watched them, because you already knew how it was going to work. You knew they were going to play it first, and so you knew you'd watch them. You go, ha ha ha, look, I got to there. Right, that's called observational learning. You already know what you want to know. You know how you're going to learn it. You know where you're going to go to learn it, and you do. This is what humans do. And notice how I played the game. Who did I learn from? Somebody else. That goes now back to the sociality question, right? Remember the prestige learning things? I talk about why are we so into social media figures and influencers? Well, the argument is that we tend to learn by paying attention to other people and how they're learning. And if they have high status, prestige, wealth, power, we look at that and go, yeah.
Gotta learn from them.
Correct. That may be the path. There's a path. I can think about that. And so when you think about how driven we are towards social media, it's almost like my poor French bulldog and his basic desire to suck up any food there is anywhere. Think about how that feels in you. Who feels totally addicted to other people and what they're doing and their prestige and status? Come on, get your hands up. Yeah, it's really fascinating, right? We watch other people. Okay? So there's that, and we're doing pretty good today. We did all that. Okay, so we're almost to chapter 1. It's a miracle. I'm almost finished chapter 1. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose. Yes, I sing as badly as I draw, which is why I'm a drummer. Do you know what happens when you take the first R out of the word drummer? Did you hear about the lead guitar player who locked himself out of his car? They had to break open the window to get the drummer out. Okay, so here's this class. It's divided into sort of three chunks. Chapters 1 through 4 are biology. Chapters 5 through 8 are primates, and then the rest are humans. The exam will be chapters 1 through 6, so it kind of splits the class right in half there. Here's some of the questions that fascinate me. You've already seen some of this. Right? Pass, 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 pass. Ah, yes. But what we're talking about is DNA. Now, the thing that makes DNA so fascinating is that the only real thing is DNA. So this is what's so strange. You see, back in the early pre-life times, there were molecules, and they were kind of self-assemblers. You ever heard the term self-assembler? So there are things that assemble themselves. And for whatever reason, these early RNA molecules would self-assemble. Now, the thing is that they would either survive or not survive. There was no life. They didn't move around. They didn't model the world. They were just self-assemblers. It's a very odd system when you look at it. And then early on, since this wasn't a really successful system, you get the building of the first unicellular creature. And the first unicellular creature has some ability to input information, process that information, and move. And what did it move? Where did it move? It moved away from bad stuff, bad chemicals, bad prey, bad whatever, and toward good stuff like food. And we see this in single-cell organisms all the time. All right? Now, why did DNA build this? Because RNA self-assembler molecules that weren't living couldn't respond to the environment. They couldn't do anything. So you build a cell, at least a cell can go get more food. Once the cell gets more food, what does it do with that food? What do single-cell organisms do when they're produced? They double. Yeah, it's not much else. So they double. Think about how much energy it takes to make two of you. So you've got one body, like Hera, the Greek goddess, buds another god off her head, right? So you literally make another one of you. That's double the calories. So what you have in the early cell life is you have creatures that actually built another cell. So what happens? You need more energy to do that. So you have a living creature, and the DNA reproduces. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, like planets.
Correct.
That's how we want choices.
There you go. Okay, so DNA then runs into a niche problem. That is, how many of these single cells can there be in a particular environment? Well, at some point, there became an advantage to building a combination of cells. What's the advantage of a combination of cells? Well, the opening up of niches. So little organisms can be absorbed by multicellular organisms, right? It's another level of structure. Which means then that the presence of single-cell organisms allows for a niche of multi-cell organisms that live off the single-cell organisms, right? And they become increasingly complex, and they build nervous systems. So DNA builds nervous systems so that it gets more copies of itself into the future. And then one day, around 300,000, 200,000 years ago, DNA built the first human with your brain. Certainly by 100,000 years ago. Now, what's so weird is, it's just that same thing of looking up and looking down inside your head. You're a secondary organism. You're a secondary element. You aren't primary. DNA is the primary. And all it wants is to build a creature that will make copies of itself. The entire complexity of you is built by a non-living information technology. A molecular, after all, what is DNA? It's a quaternary. Computer code is binary, right? It's ones and zeros. The English alphabet is 26 letters plus a bunch of like exclamation, colon, semicolon. So the DNA system is quaternary. It's ACTG. But it's literally building an organism in order to reproduce that organism. Now this is where it gets weird. All of your thoughts, all of the poetry, all the movies, all the things we make, they're built out of a creature that is built out of DNA. And what's really fascinating is that DNA is just a bunch of molecules. It could never imagine building something like what we're living in. But we did, and it built us. It's such a weird way to look at the world, because the only reason we exist is because DNA, are you ready? Bunny ears like mad, wants to copy itself.
How does no wonder that's not alive?
That's the great question. By the way, this is not a class about religion at all. It's been noted many times in the teaching of this class, including in my classes, that the students see that the professor is arguing against their religion. I explicitly am not arguing against any religion at all. I can imagine all sorts of ways the universe could come to be the way it is, with various kinds of god, goddesses, demons, sprites, whatever. I am only interested in what you can actually bounce off the walls, what is available to natural introspection. Natural means of nature. It is made of atoms and things we can examine. Okay, so I will never have an argument about religion. Don't want to have an argument about religion. I don't want to make you feel like your religion is not important or real. Not anything I'm interested in. I may ask questions, but I am not here to comment on religion at all. Okay, so I made this slide, human behavior. I happen to love this slide. I love the idea of burning money. Anybody ever burnt money or tore up a dollar bill for the heck of it? It's really fun feeling. Did anybody tear up a $20 bill and then take it to the bank, get a new one? That's what I did. Okay, so the only weird one, I mean, here's a guy shooting up with something. Here's a punk band playing. Yeah, burning money. Here is the only weird one. I think this is the one that expresses human behavior in the most interesting way possible. There are two people in this room, and now, listen, you have to understand. Apparently, these Russian roulette clubs actually exist. Now, I know they existed significantly at one time. That is, you join a club, and part of the club is this kind of extreme sport. Nobody wants to die. That's not the point. But you go for this extreme sport, kind of like jumping off bridges. Of, you know, it's a six bullet revolving structure. You only put one bullet in, you spin it, and you see what happens. Your chances of living are 5 out of 6. Your chances of winning are 1 out of 6. If you know about coin flip methodology, every coin flip is a separate coin flip, so you never become more likely to die. But there is something called cumulative probability, so this kind of makes me nervous. Like, I would never play this game. But okay, apparently there are people who really play this game. And one of the things that they always do, well, I'm going to let you figure out what's weird about this picture. Forget this guy, of course he's weird. But there's something even weirder about this picture than the guy on the left.
The guy that is watching.
But that's what you do at a Russian roulette club. You have to watch.
He's covering his ears.
Explain why the hearing protecting devices are the weirdest frickin' thing in the whole place, and the proof of how weird humans are.
They stand out.
No, there's something very weird about it. Go ahead.
He's playing
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
he's playing a dangerous game, but he's still worried about his safety.
So I want to point out that he's playing a game that is so much worse than having your hearing reduced a little bit by hearing an actual gunshot. They're mostly just clicks. So how often are you going to hear the actual gun fire? And he's worried about his hearing. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, if you get the joke now, there's a joke here, right? Like, really? You're worried about your hearing. Maybe join a health club. Join a workout gym. Go do something. Pump some oil. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so to play devil's advocate, it might have been that he's in a group of these people all playing Russian roulette, right? The ones who aren't trying to shoot themselves in the head, they probably do want to protect their hearing a little bit. So it might just be that they're going around, one by one, trying it out.
Of course, and not only have you proved devil's advocate, but you've also shown how freaking weird humans are. See, it's great. It's exactly right. No matter how you look at this, he begins to look like the rest of us. Like, what are we doing every day? Some days I feel like I'm just crazy. Anybody else with me here? There you go. And so I think he represents crazy in the very sophisticated ways you're talking about. Rachel, a comment question.
I was just going to say that too, that there's a point of protection of physical health, but not at all of mental health.
Maybe he just wants to watch.
Okay. No. She wins. That's the end comment. Right there. Oh yeah, I'm physically healthy, but maybe I'm missing something really important. I have never thought of that one before. I thought that was good. That was good. Okay. So what the hell is science? Because this is a science. All right. So one of the things I want to say is that science is supposed to be based in empiricism. What is empiricism? I believe the correct translation is to the things themselves. But what empiricism is you're supposed to sit and watch without theory, without thinking anything, and observe patterns in the world and then record those patterns. You sit and watch the world and you notice and record patterns. And you do it in a time sequence that allows the patterns to repeat many, many times. So of course, if you're watching the universe operate, it's a very long time. But if you're watching apples fall out of trees, a la Newton, then it's a relatively short time. But you got to watch a lot of time of apples falling out of trees to begin to think about gravity. Okay? And the advantage of empiricism as a model for studying the world is that almost all other ways of knowing things don't like to update themselves. So the classic epistemological, which means how do you know shit, methods are things like one of the best, authority. People who are authorities we can learn from. Elon Musk, very smart guy. But I don't think Elon Musk likes being wrong, does he?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he wants to hear he's wrong about something. Tradition. Tradition is an enormously powerful system. I was talking about trial and error learning. Tradition is how you avoid trial and error learning. And there's a great example of trial and error learning. The Yanomami, a group living in the Orinoco region in border between Venezuela and Brazil, they have this extraordinary cultural belief. They believe that if you don't smoke, boil, broil, and cook meat until no blood shows, that you will be attacked by evil spirits. Think about that for a moment. They don't have any knowledge of germs, bacteria, viruses, disease, but they've got this interesting belief about magical sort of behavior that occurs if you don't cook your meat enough. So what have they come up with?
Well, they use it to explain what they saw happen.
Right, they've actually found a way to not get sick from meat poisoning, from food poisoning that comes from undercooked meat. And so when we say tradition, we often think bad. But the fact is, tradition is often amazing, but it doesn't like updating. That's the whole thing about why right now we have the evangelical Christian church really pushing back against everything in the modern world, right? Because tradition is about why we hold on to the past because we believe it has a benefit for the future. And it may. NMP, not my problem. But once again, it doesn't update. Yes?
It's kind of like tradition is a learned behavior to prevent something that people don't understand.
Yeah, oftentimes, right? That's the evangelical Christian church right now is going very right. And part of it is it doesn't understand what the world is doing right now. And people get nervous about it, right? Another was intuition. Intuition is another huge epistemological structure. And here's the best one ever, right? When you fell in love, you knew you were in love. Who had the thing that family and friends are like, no, it's not? Yeah, but you're like, no. And then when you fall out of love, you're like, yeah, I'm not in love. And you're like, no, you sure? You sure? You go to therapy. How are you feeling? What are your feelings? Well, I'm just not in love anymore. Well, what do you mean? Like, they ask, like, what do you mean? Well, what do I mean? The thing about intuition is it doesn't really update very well until it does, and you can't generalize it. So really, the only way to get a system that continually tests itself is to do some kind of empirical work where you don't get to use some kind of outside influence that tells you don't pay attention to that. And so science, which has gotten a really bad name in the past 30 years for all the terrible things science has done, and science does dumb, terrible shit all the time. I think that we need to pay attention to how important science really is. We're a country that is backing away from science education and science. Now, there's all kinds of bad science, like just bad scientists, there's lots of bad science, and social science itself has a problem in that social science isn't science. And who's heard of the replication crisis? The replication crisis. Okay. So good for you. So replication crisis is a major scandal in primarily psychology. So a bunch of meta-studies in the 2000s were done of pretty much all journal-published psychology experiments since World War II, and they found that over 50% would not replicate. That's crazy. Including the Stanford prison experiment, not replicatable. Yep. It turns out that there's a priming. You know what priming is? There was a priming of the people who were going to be guards and prisoners that probably poisoned the entire study, unfortunately. By the way, the accompanying and very similar Milgram study, however, has been replicated over and over. The shock one, it's been replicated over and over and over again.
Did I find out a room? Any shock?
You don't get a real shock, no. But it's great acting. So what does this mean? Like, what does it mean that science is coming unglued? Well, actually, it means it's going right. Because an authority system or tradition wouldn't have a replication scandal, would it? The fact that 50 years later, we're finally realizing that our methodologies in psychology were insufficient, that's just good science, isn't it? The fact that poor Wang Woo-suk, he had a mistress. He's a premier geneticist in the world, one of the top, say, 3. He had a mistress who he fucked over, and she gave to authorities all of his papers and proved that he, in fact, had been making up all of his research. Remember the betrayal thing?
Yeah.
Apparently she felt that. I wonder if he felt the other thing. Yeah? I bet he did. Okay, so what makes science something worthy of our attention, and how should we think about what I'm doing in this class? Because my job is to do good science. When I do a thought experiment, I can't take you out into a lab, so we do a thought experiment, we work our way through it. But can we show that we're doing something in this class of evolution that is useful? So first, part of evolutionary studies and part of all good science are testable hypotheses. In a testable hypothesis, you must lay out clearly exactly what your argument is, and it must be automatically a simple yes or no answer, period. You can't say, it's Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. 4 p.m.? Yeah, it doesn't work Tuesday at 4 p.m. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to say something about